region of Virginia. So this Look magazine article actually has a depiction of an underground flying saucer base with a camouflaged opening in a mountainous region, presumably of the United States. Now, the thrust of the article is that this base would have been an American flying saucer base, but how strange that Look magazine in the mid-1950s presumed that the American military was building or would soon build flying saucers and would have its own underground flying saucer base. There you have it. It's in the open literature, and I include that illustration in my book.
And Look magazine was at the forefront of these reports during those days. I mean,
yeah, they had a lot of interesting articles. They carried some of Jackie Gleason's work on UFOs. He was pretty outspoken on the topic.
Yeah, he was a believer. Well, and he claims that Richard Nixon showed him an extraterrestrial at Homestead Air Base in Florida.
Yeah, I've read that story, and I'm inclined to believe it. Why not? Because a lot of people have come forth in recent years alleging to have seen a variety of alien corpses under many different circumstances. So I can believe it. Ryan Wood has certainly demonstrated to my satisfaction that the American military has recovered many crashed UFOs, or in some cases apparently shot them down, and that presumably there would be corpses of whatever entities or beings were in the craft that they would also take possession of. So I really, at this point, don't have any trouble believing this type of story.
What do you think these ETs are? Why bases?
Well, they would be underground and or undersea for the same reason that terrestrial humans would be, to conceal their activities for a level of security, physical security, and privacy. So that would be the reason. It's not only, we have beings here that are being very stealthy, whether we're talking about terrestrial human factions in the military, in civil government, or in other agencies and organizations, and also factions that evidently are coming here from off the planet, and they all are behaving in a very stealthy, furtive manner, which raises a lot of questions. What are they hiding? What's to hide?
Absolutely. Tell us about the case of abductee Krista Hilton.
Well, have you talked to Krista yourself, George?
I have not.
Well, she was really more in circulation back in the 80s and I'd say early 90s. I don't know if she really makes public appearances anymore, but she did for a while, and I talked with her a few times. Her story is that she was abducted and taken underground to a base that she believed was in northern New Mexico, which she thought was the Dulce base. She doesn't know exactly where it was. But she was taken there by clandestine elements of the American military and also saw alien beings there and some weird genetic and biological type of research and experimentation, ostensible cloning programs and that type of thing. The technology that she saw, the biological technology that she saw, was frankly bizarre. And also the interaction between the military and the aliens and between her and the military was frankly also bizarre. I think something very strange happened to Krista, and I'm inclined to give her the benefit of the doubt, because there are other people who have come forward with, if not precisely the same story, at least stories that bear some resemblance to what she has reported. And it does appear that certain factions of the American military are involved with certain ET or alien factions underground, and it seems that they're up to no good.
Why the lie, Richard? Why the big cover-up?
I don't know, but the lying is epidemic. And it's not only the projects themselves, but it's the if you will, the social technology of compartmentalization that permits, the mass deception of society by concealing the activities of very large numbers of human beings in society. And this social technology of compartmentalization is extremely advanced and widely used by the military-industrial espionage complex. And there's also the question of the funding for these things. You've interviewed Catherine Austin Fitts.
Yes, all the time.
Yeah, she's quite knowledgeable about this, and there's no question that trillions of dollars have been sucked out of the federal budget and out of the economy in general. It's been sucked out of our pockets, literally. This money's been taken from us, and it's been lavished on projects and programs about which we are told little or even nothing whatsoever. And I'm back to one of my main points. It's our money. We deserve to know. We ought to know. We should know.
How do they cook the books? How do they hide the money?
A lot of ways. Bill Gawley, in the book I mentioned at the outset of our interview, Breaking Cover, told how already back in the 50s and 60s, the American military used what was essentially a shell game, where they would funnel money from the Army through a little-known engineering office in the Chesapeake Division of the Naval Engineers. And according to him, it was so adroitly done that even a practiced accountant or a really eagle-eyed spy would have trouble tracing the money. They've only gotten better at it in the last half century, and the amounts of money involved now are just mind-boggling, off the charts. I've talked about this with Catherine Alston Fitz before, and she said to me, and I agree, that with the amount of money that's in play, this black budget money, which runs evidently into the multiple trillions of dollars, that with that amount of money you can do anything at all.
You probably makes the TARP money look like loose change, Richard, doesn't it?
It does, because we're talking about trillions of dollars by those standards. We are being mugged. The American people are being shook down. It's frankly a very organized crime. It makes sense to speak of the United States government at this point as a criminal syndicate, as a massive global money laundering operation.
Any records that you stumble across about any catastrophes that could have occurred during construction of these tunnels and these bases or anything like that?
Well, I can tell you that in general, construction work is dangerous work, and mining is dangerous work. So I don't have any doubt that men would be killed constructing these projects. But if it's a clandestine project, of course, there would not be an obituary in the local paper saying Joe Schmo was killed working on a top-secret compartmentalized program underground. There would be a cover story to account for the death if it was publicly acknowledged at all.
Richard, tell us a little bit about where you get this book. You put a lot of work into it, hidden it.
Yes, I have. I spent years working on this one. I did devote more time to it than some of the others. And the best place to get it is at keyholepublishing.com, and the links are up on your website. If people want to check that out, they can click right through. Of course, they can also get it at amazon.com.
As you look at what has been going on, the fact that we're not going to be told about it, can we assume that if an event occurs, well, let's use the old Astor for lack of a better,
Yes.
Is it going to be one of these things where it just hits us and then they tell us, or they run around and it's panic mode?
I really don't know, but what's clear to me at this point is the United States government is a rogue regime. We see criminality on every hand, not only with the bailout bills and the TARP funds and stuttering officers from the Federal Reserve who come to Congress and just point blank lie about the disposition of trillions of dollars under their control. The whole system is wildly out of control, and what we see is incompetence and criminality run amok right across the gamut of federal agencies, from one end of the United States government to the other. It's a mess, George, and I think the American people understand this at this point. So, go ahead.
Who do you think's in charge?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? We have a president who's transparently really good at reading teleprompters. So who writes all that stuff on the teleprompters? Beyond that question, who's really in charge at the Federal Reserve? Because we have officers of the Federal Reserve, whether it's Ben Bernanke or the chief financial officer, who will come before the Congress, and you read their remarks in the transcripts, and they're impenetrable. They're spouting nonsense. It's just indecipherable. It's not intelligible by a person of a normal mentality. So who is in charge, and who actually writes this nonsense that's spouted, whether by Ben Bernanke or Barack Obama or Timothy Geithner or any of them? I have been told that there is another level higher up, that someone like the President or United States Senators or the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff or the Queen of England, say, or the Pope in the Vatican and so forth, these people have a degree of power in their sphere of action or of influence, but that they, in a sense, are puppets for other power brokers that stay in the shadows, who run the so-called shadow government, and that there is a degree of global or international cooperation. There is not really any publicly known name for this organization. I've heard it referred to simply as the organization, or the foundation. In one case, one person refers to this shadowy agency as the foundation, but having been around for a long time and operating over a long period of history. What the ultimate agenda is, I don't know, but you could make a good case that it is to enslave the human race, because that's where we're headed.
When you first started uncovering these things, specifically the bases, did you believe it? Did you believe it yourself?